G'day, West Ham mates. This is a brand new YouTube show dedicated to West Ham called the Southern Joe West Ham Show with your West Ham mate, Southern Joe. This episode is basically, why am I here? This is a good question. Uh, there are heaps of fan videos all over the internet made by West Ham fans that are like me. They're varying degrees of quality. I believe that it's time for me to put a voice out there on behalf of the positive West Ham fans. I'll go fully into my West Ham journey on episode 2 on how I became a West Ham fan. Me, I'm an Australian who's never been to England, don't have any connection to West Ham in that regard, but like many Aussies, I follow the Premier League because it's always been featured heavily on our TV since the 70s. I'm originally from Sydney, but have lived in Melbourne since 1990. So let's look at the name of the team we support. West Ham United. See that third name? United. Until a few years ago, that seemed what our supporter base was. No matter how good or bad, we were united in our support. Our club would always be there. Look, even this season, there have been some games that were so bad that lesser fans would have packed it in. For me, myself, out of my 4 kids, my oldest son is not in the sport. Neither is my only daughter, who's child number 3. But my sons that occupy the second oldest and the youngest slots of the clan, they've jumped onto the plastic bandwagon and they go for Chelsea. My consolation is at the moment they've jumped off that bandwagon because of how they're going and don't watch basically at all. So it's seeing when you're winning. But I've stuck fat with West Ham since 1975, even through relegation, through promotion, through crap managers, and the less than ideal players with that. And that brings me to support. I've never bagged anyone that was currently representing our club. Never bagged a player. I may be disappointed with some of their performances, but I've never booed my own. And I support teams in other sports as well. That'll be part of my origin story. This was reinforced to me in 2 ways. Firstly, I worked at a retail store that was managed by a former Aussie rules player. We had a few famous sports people come through the shop. And even though a few of them were ones that I didn't like the way they carried on when they were playing, when I met them, I found that in the main, they were pretty decent people. Only one basketball player lived up to being a crap person, but all the best to him. Then my youngest did pretty well in rep basketball. And even though the system here in Victoria is full of nepotism, I learned firsthand that he needed guidance and encouragement, not the brutality like some of our toxic fans dish out. Let me put it to you this way. If one of your family or a close friend was a West Ham player, how would you go about telling them something that they already knew, that they didn't have such a good game? Or if you were that player that had a mare of a game, and once again, they'll probably know it, how would you tell them how they went? These are things we must consider before we yell over the fence at our players or decide to type something on social media. I've seen 2 teams that we've played against in recent years that have had great support, even though they were rank underdogs against us. And they've been really good support. I'm talking about Luton Town and Kidderminster, especially Kidderminster. They nearly wheeled, their supporters, they nearly wheeled their part-timers into a famous FA Cup victory over us a couple of seasons ago. It seems that our best support at home games basically comes right before kickoff when everyone sings bubbles, and at the end of the game where we get to sing bubbles if we won. I'd love to see the crowd become the 12th man to give before the team gives a reason to sing. That roar would help get them in a gear and put the away team on the back foot. I don't believe it should happen only when you have players that have played tense games before. But remember, they're only human. I love the support the team gets playing away because it's the ardent fans that go there and show everyone else how it's done. I wish I could be there and cheer the lads to be their best before they show their best. Please, fellow Hammer fans, show how massive we are everywhere you go, but especially at home. And that doesn't matter whether we're up or we're down. Be there for them. That's enough. Now that's enough of an intro for me. If you're a pro wrestling fan, check out the Southern Joe Wrestling Show, which I also have here, and also look at some of my clips that I've transferred from my VHS collection. Press like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to keep up to date on a channel that I'm looking to grow. Come along for the ride. So until next video, where I go into my origin story, this is your West Ham mate saying, hooroo.